Hello everybody, welcome back to the Summer Championship. My name is TJ. I'm joined on the desk by Nathan, the Admiral. That's Admirable's more, and we're about to jump into the matchup between BaiZe and cocosasa. Another elimination match in the final lower match of each of these groups, so a lot of pressure on these players' shoulders. And we had a chance to sit down and talk with these players about their journey so far and their upcoming matchups. Let's take a look.
Elimination match number 4, cocosasa versus BaiZe.
我不太了解这名选手，但
I don't know much about cocosasa, but I believe for every player, there is a reason that they are here.
굉장히 독창성 있는 덱.
BaiZe. Her decks are very unique. There's no druid, and she brought mage and warlock. Her decks are strong, but my decks are also very strong, and I feel I can defeat her.
Cocosasa versus BaiZe. Ready, set, go!
Yeah, you heard cocosasa mention she didn't bring druid. What the heck is she doing? That's basically, you know, the tone that I got from it.
Well, we talked to her in the interview, and she said because this was such a big event, she didn't want to simply copy the strategies that everyone else was using. She wanted to show her creative potential here, and it's really shown through. She went to a 5-game set versus Pavel that was very close, and you heard Pavel say it in the post-interview, if he knew that her Zoo Warlock was as strong as it ended up being in his testing, he would have brought that instead of his Shaman.
Yeah, and Zoo Warlock, I think it's a deck that was under a lot of players' radar. It was sort of a 5th deck for a lot of players when we were talking to them. They said, well, I tested it, and it almost made my lineup, but didn't quite get there. But BaiZe has decided to replace it replace Druid with it. And on cocosasa's side, he's got Aggro Paladin. It's the first player to do it. Ouya did that in the Asia Pacific playoffs and had a ton of success. But this time around, it was cocosasa.
Yeah, unfortunately, we won't be seeing that Warlock. It is banned in this set. But
yes, it is.
It must be a powerful deck if it's been banned twice in a row here. And this matchup in particular between cocosasa and BaiZe, to me, is so interesting because both of these players are deck builders. cocosasa brought a very unique lineup to the playoffs, as you see some banter going on in the beginning here. And BaiZe bringing the lineup she's brought is quite interesting. She has Prince Tal'Daram at the 3-drop slot in Shaman. That's the one that can copy a minion as long as you have no other 3-cost cards left in your deck. She's also got 2 copies of Cult Master and 2 copies of Master of Evolution, which are cards that you just don't see in Shaman when you're playing a ton of ladder or seeing tournaments or whatnot.
Yeah, it's a little bit of an interesting choice considering how powerful Mana Tide is against a lot of the decks in the current meta, notably Priest. So it might be tough, but goes ahead and coins out the Master of Evolution, gets a Gadsden Ferryman, just trying to get stuff on the board, and a 4-5 against Priest. Not bad. Insert 4-attack minion against Priest joke.
Honestly, it was quite strong. Dan and I practiced this matchup before day number 1, and we found that Master of Evolution was quite powerful in this matchup. It was a problem to deal with just because it came down early and started applying pressure. And I believe that was a pretty poor potion for cocosasa. I don't think it was very impactful in this spot. Hopefully we can get a glimpse of that pretty soon here. But BaiZe's hand is stacking up pretty darn nice. So having the Doppelgangster already, having Thrall, Bloodlust, 2 Flame Tongues, this is pretty much what you want versus Priest.
You saw a little bit of information there from BaiZe. Her first matchup was against Pavel. You know, what a way to start an event. Is playing against the current world champion. And she struggled a little bit in that match, notably with her Rogue. And actually, both players struggled with their Rogue in their first matchup. cocosasa, his Rogue was his weak link, and BaiZe, her Rogue was her weak link in their first matchup. So, there's the Tal'Daram.
Well, that is quite interesting in this spot because she did mention specifically when asked about Prince Tal'Daram that copying Flame Tongue was one of the best targets you can get. Oh, Devolve. You know, it always hurts to lose a minion in this spot, but I think the reload here is pretty darn strong.
That's a 3/3 Flametongue Totem.
Yes, it is. Didn't quite catch the potion there.
I believe it was Polymorph and Summon. Was
Right.
the
Well, that's quite powerful right now if that's the case. I mean, he has a good chance to... he's guaranteed the Doomsayer, actually.
I wonder.
It's kind of a waste if that actually is the potion. I only got a short glimpse of it as cocosasa moused over it himself. But it doesn't look like that's on his mind at the moment. We'll have to see. There's a couple other plays that can be made with Wild Pyromancer.
Well, something to think about for cocosasa is BaiZe is approaching the danger turn of Doppelgangster Evolve. And so the reason that he's expending this Wild Pyromancer here is because he anticipates seeing that and wants to have something on board to try to fight against it. It's also nets him some card draw. But BaiZe doesn't have Doppelgangster Evolve. She has Doppelgangster Thrall. And so when you see the Wild Pyromancer here from BaiZe, I'm curious if she thinks maybe this is an opening to simply play Doppelgangster as tempo and look for that Thrall, or if she's simply going to wait and take some card draw.
Looks like card draw it is. Also has the option to play another Flametongue Totem and trade over the Acolyte and
Wise
try
choice.
and solidify the board here.
3 Flametongues is not something that you're used to dealing with. The answers are there, but now cocosasa is running short on resources. Once he begins to expend all this, he's still got a long way to go.
Blessed be this funnel cake.
Probably going to search for Dragon Fire Potion here, one of the best choices. Shadowwood Horror, though, oftentimes is great as well, because the boards early on in the game for Shaman are usually quite small, often filled with 2 attack or less minions anyway.
Yeah,
I think it was between that and Dragon Fire Potion is what cocosasa was really trying to find.
I also want to note cocosasa's pace of play in this game. This is very similar to what we saw in playoffs. The difference being, of course, how animated he was at playoffs. We spoke to him in the interview, and he said he talks to himself a lot out loud just to hype himself up. He'll like trash talk his opponent as long as the opponent can't actually hear it.
Which is kind of funny. And we asked him, like, are you going to do it on stage? He says, well, we wear noise-canceling headsets. He said, so I'm going to trash talk my opponent all I want as long as they can't hear me.
Our girl's best friend.
Trash talk his opponents to himself out loud.
He said it hypes him up and helps him focus.
Yeah.
He meant, you know, he seemed to stress the importance of instinctual play.
Yeah, he said also it sort of helps it serve as a reminder. You know, if he's repeating the cards out loud to himself, it helps him, you know, keep track of what cards his opponent has played.
Look at that! Look at that patience with the potion here. Nails the polymorph on an isolated Eye of Blackpaw, and the resurrection here. Nice resurrects too. Doomsayer.
It was devolved, so can't bring.
Oh,
back
that's right.
Doomsayer.
It was devolved.
Yeah.
BaiZe is looking to find some sort of stabilization moving towards the Doppelgangster Thrall in a single turn. And that's going to be difficult. Certainly helps, but... Oh my. That is big. That is one of the best 3-cost minions you could see off that.
Yeah, Mukla is, you know, one of the only other ones. But here comes the Master of Evolution. It's going to put a little bit more power on the board, plus the 4/5. So not bad, but cocosasa is able to draw into Pint-Sized Potion. So Pint-Sized Potion, Shadowwood Horror,
Patience
really good. And he's just clearing off the board every turn, and that's what you got to do against Shaman. Eventually, he will draw into his power cards, and if he keeps the board clear turn after turn, he's going to be in a great spot.
Yeah, interesting choice there with the heal. Chooses to play around Maelstrom Portal rather than Jade Lightning in this spot.
And that's a Totem Pass on turn 9.
Well, the benefit for BaiZe is that she, I think, has some time here. Oh my. Oh my, that is bad news for BaiZe.
You just jam it right here
That is
every
a
time.
huge pickup for cocosasa, and you can see it as he reacts.
I'm keeping Arphis on the board 100%.
Oh yeah.
None shall
Arphis, of course, add a random Death Knight card to your hand. Not really seen in many tier 1 decks right now, but some of those Death Knight cards are incredibly
Get
powerful.
ready, because it's round 2.
Oh, jeez.
Those minions need to be big. And one of them is big enough to survive the pint-size potion Shadow Word Horror, but cocosasa has Shadow Word Pain as well. So this is a full clear available to him if he chooses.
Abominable Bowman Archbishop Benedictus.
This is, again, super bad news for BaiZe here, as it looks like cocosasa is going to, oh, he is going to use Shadow Word Pain.
Might as well. Again, it's all about keeping the board clear, and that's with a turn 9 hero power pass. Cocosasa. Wait, did he just wave by? He just waved goodbye to BaiZe in this game.
Well, he's not necessarily wrong about that, but there is some card draw available here with the Bloodlust. This takes out the Bellin, which is the major threat cocosasa has. I mean, was that premature looking back on it?
If BaiZe mounts a comeback, I just wanted to wave by right back.
Well, Auchenai Soul Priest doesn't do a lot when your hero power has changed into a pseudo evolve here. Does upgrade though.
I will purify the fallen.
Uh-oh. Well, I'm seeing a play here.
Let it rip.
Spell power off the evolve. There's Kobold Geomancer, there's Blood Mage. Both of those would clear off Cocosasa's board, leave BaiZe with initiative, evolve in hand, and mind you, this deck that BaiZe's brought is heavier than typical Shaman decks.
I think at this point she's going to go all in on the evolve. She's going to play all of these resources, go for evolve, and see if she gets something to stick. I mean, it's card draw.
Not bad rolls here. Those are solid, actually. So anytime that the minions will simply just survive what's going on board, that hurts a lot. Huge draw for Cocosasa here. And he did have the freedom to use Circle of Healing there, trade, and then upgrade this, and he gets Kidnapper. That's one of the worst ones because the 3-1 is ready to trade into it.
I don't know. I feel like Cocosasa's draws are, at this point, way above the average draw of BaiZe, and she has not put on any points of damage so far in this game. I still think Cocosasa's in a pretty good spot, but you know, a Bloodlust might change things.
I don't know if I agree with your analysis here, TJ. That helps a lot.
That does help a lot.
That helps a ton here. The Deadly Fork can clear that off with the, oh my gosh! The Overload! She can clear this off with the Deadly Fork, which I didn't think I'd ever say. But now she's got the Doppelgangster online, and once again, Cocosasa's out of minions. He's got BaiZe down to 9, but she has initiative on board. Shadow Reaper Anduin joins the hand, but it doesn't clear off every minion this turn. He is going to be facing a 6-drop next turn. He has to start pressuring BaiZe. And at 35 health with a greater healing potion in hand, I think he's got plenty of time to do this.
I think so too.
He chooses to start taking out Doppelgangsters though.
That does have a lot of merit as well, because if you keep giving her opportunities to evolve these minions, it could punish you in the long run. If BaiZe, again, is all in on this very board, Jade Lightning to face. Stab him with a fork.
Oh my. Oh my. But mind you, that is not a free hero power right now.
No. Raza is still in the bottom 8 here for cocosasa.
If he plays Velen, there is an incredibly high likelihood that it dies on the following turn.
Shadowy thoughts.
Can he afford to hold it though? I mean, now he's looking at Bloodlust being lethal. He's looking at a big charge from an Evolve being lethal.
Yeah, and BaiZe's actually drawn more cards than cocosasa in this game because of the Cold Master.
Is there ever a merit to really going for it with the Army of the Dead here? I mean, there's still quite a few minions left in cocosasa's deck, but that's going to mill a lot of his remaining cards.
Oh boy.
This is not an easy choice. Oh
jeez.
And 2 card draw minions. Is there a potential for BaiZe to push down cocosasa and put him in fatigue range at all?
That's hard because she's only at 9 health. And she knows that Raza plus Prophet Velen are still in the deck or in the hand. That's a tough task.
That's the worst draw left in BaiZe's deck.
Actually, Bloodlust would have been lethal damage there with 11 damage on board plus 12 damage from the Bloodlust. That would have been exactly 23.
So now
she did have a 1 in 7 chance to draw for a lethal hit.
So this one's obvious. Lyra's got to die. The upgrade comes in. Make this minion bigger, try to protect it. One of my favorite cards, War Golem.
Outshined for much of the history of Hearthstone.
And there's the Raza. And I think the Raza is just about going to lock this up. I just don't think BaiZe has the pressure left. And Dragonfire Potion joins the hand. And despite being out of cards, I think cocosasa has plenty of time to deliver this. And there's the concede. Wow. An insane game number 1 to open the set.
I think cocosasa might be holding back on the waves from here on out because that got way closer than he probably thought it would. BaiZe had a definite chance of winning that game at the end with a 1 in 7 chance to win, and beyond that, maybe even more if some of the you know, the spells were all the ones that were burned there. That was close.
And after seeing that game, you really see how she has built this deck because she doesn't intend to ban Priest away. The Master of Evolutions and the Cult Masters are meant to do heavy lifting. They did, but cocosasa found the Thrall, which just fought off the pressure way too hard for her in the mid-stage.
Yeah, cocosasa goes up to a 1-0 lead, and this is one of the first times we've been seeing him, at least at the championship. So why don't we go ahead and get to know cocosasa, the player from Korea, just a little bit better.
카스톤을 굉장히 많이 하는 것도
I think I'm good at Hearthstone because of how much time I spend playing it.
I kind of like watching cocosasa play. He just loves Hearthstone. You can tell.
Yeah.
모험을 많이
I enjoy adventure, and that means I enjoy taking risks when I play.
고민을 많이 하지 않고
I don't overthink things. I make the best call with what I have.
일단 모든 선수가 전부 다
For example, in the playoffs, I realized that most of my opponents would be bringing Jade Druids and Highlander Priests. So my strategy was to create decks that would counter those.
조합해서
And because of that, my playoff results were successful.
And cocosasa, Druid is easy to beat. That's what he's saying.
To execute that strategy so perfectly, he is going to make it to the Summer Championship.
이번에는
The strategy that I brought for this tournament is entirely different than the one I brought for the playoffs.
다른 선수들의 덱리스트
Looking at other people's decks, I'm confident I'm going to have success.
이번 챔피언십에서
And if I qualify for the World Championship, it would be an affirmation of all the hard work I put in this year.
Cocosasa, what a guy.
What a guy.
What a guy.
It's up 1-0 in the series right now.
And some of the choices, the odd-looking choices that he's made with his lineup, I do think provide him some payoff potential versus BaiZe's lineup. Her lineup is not quite as aggressive. It's more focused towards the middle stages in a lot of aspects. And if you look at cocosasa's Rogue, for instance, he's chosen to bring the Tempo Rogue deck that has 2 copies of Blaze Caller in it. So a lot more top end in addition to the Bone Mares.
Oh,
we'll talk about that one a little bit later.
Here we go.
Because this Paladin deck is something to behold.
But that is, I don't think that's I couldn't tell if he
I don't know if it's celebration or frustration.
I don't even know what that was.
This deck features a lot of one-cost cards, and by a lot of them, there is 8 different one-cost cards in the deck. That features Righteous Protector, South's Deckhand, Patches, of course, Firefly, Blessing of Might, the Arcurus Veteran that you saw during the Mulligan stage, I believe, Abusive Sergeant. There's a lot of one-drops in here, and the whole goal is to land small-time recruits, land Divine Favors after you empty your hand to keep that pressure rolling turn after turn.
Yeah. The one thing, though, is he's going up against the Shaman from BaiZe, and Shaman has been known as to be an aggro killer. It has a lot of early tools to stop aggressive decks with Maelstrom Portal, Jade Claws, Flame Totem, some one-drops tucked into the deck. Devolve is usually great against aggressive decks, especially tribal ones.
Huge turn.
But yes, it is.
Dread Corsair is one of the most important cards in this matchup because of the tempo it provides. He's able to chop down the whole board here. He decides to keep the True Silver fresh instead of the 1/1, which I am a bit surprised by. And he's got small-time recruits, Blessing of Might to back this up. So now his entire game plan is to try to ride this wave. And now he's got 3 weapons.
Speak your peace.
But he's ahead on board, and by a considerable margin.
The only player in the field to bring the aggressive Paladin. We thought Wuya might bring it back from his run through playoffs, but he did not, and cocosasa was the one to fill that void. And you know, those players mentioned, and a lot of players throughout time have mentioned, there's a specific spot in almost every meta that doesn't last very long, where aggro Paladin is a strong deck. It was strong in playoffs, but is it strong in this meta? And cocosasa is here to try and prove that. And draws Prince, it's slightly late, but still good. This deck does pack a lot of card draw with small-time recruits and with the Divine Favor, both in the deck. So he does have a way to sort of generate those buffed minions from his deck. And right now he's just clearing off the board. And looks like he's almost home free unless BaiZe is able to pick up Devolves plus AoE.
Well, he went face there over the trade, and that is somewhat curious to me. This is clearly a Flame Tongue turn that BaiZe's been trying to set up for, and I don't think cocosasa accounted for Cult Master in this spot. Those extra draws mean that BaiZe is going to try to find Maelstrom Portals, look for the Doppelgangster Evolve turns that happen. Some bad draws instead, and synergy for cocosasa. This deck is firing on all cylinders right now.
Gonna get the buff on the Righteous Protector, be able to attack with the South's Deckhand, and clean off the Flame Tongue Totem.
Yeah, I think I like the hero powers here.
I guess it's more mana efficient, and that South's Deckhand, especially with the True Silver Champion hand, is almost always gonna have charge when it comes out. It could be surprise damage.
That's a key for this deck too, is you have to figure out when you can turn the corner, what minions you can ignore, and what minions you have to trade with. And he's got so much damage in hand right now that that's why he's been pushing.
He does have lethal damage.
Yep.
Currently waiting, and BaiZe is not finding a way to taunt or clear any minions off the board. And cocosasa is going to win this game and go up to a very quick 2-0 lead.
Get in there, fight, maggot.
That is a lot of damage. Wow.
I'm just watching cocosasa's reactions as he wins that game, kind of scratching his head and like, wow, that was pretty good. I like this deck.
True Silver Dread Corsair with coin was devastating that game for BaiZe.
Yeah. This is definitely a much faster match than we've been used to seeing over the past couple days. And cocosasa now 2-0 with Paladin in the tournament, but he's got Rogue left, which is the deck that he struggled with. And you can take a look at some of cocosasa's reactions, and we'll get to see a little bit more of that when we return with game number 3 right after this. Also, big shout out to the Nerf Chill Win Yeti guy in the crowd. You know what's up. Woo! But back down to serious business. BaiZe versus cocosasa. Currently, cocosasa leads 2-0 in the series after a quick win in game 2 with the aggressive Paladin deck. So far, even though cocosasa lost his first match, he is 2-0 with the Paladin deck, and the deck that he has remaining is the deck that he struggled with in his first off-stream match against Empanizado. He lost 2 of his 3 games to lose that series with this deck. So this is the weak point for cocosasa. BaiZe still has a lot of game left in this series. If she can manage to capitalize on this rogue deck from cocosasa.
And the quick pace of play continues in this set. There's been a lot of very quick decisions made, as you can see. This one's not the most difficult to make in that regard. Cocosasa's deck doesn't have a ton of the heavy pirates in here. You're not looking at Naga Corsair and things like that. He's chosen to go for Fire Plume Phoenix and Blaze Caller to have more top end. In this particular matchup, I think that benefits him. But for the most part, that can leave him with some very clunky draws. He's got a lot of his important cards thus far, but BaiZe is going to be able to fight for board very hard as well and start to put pressure on cocosasa. So I'm curious to see where this one ends up going.
A couple of key cards in cocosasa's hand right off the bat is Cobalt Scalebane. He's got a pair of them. That card's pretty tough for Priest to deal with because Dragonfire Potion doesn't reach it. It's basically Shadow or Death or Shadow Reaper and Win. Those are the 2 cards that reach it outside of fancy Spirit Lash plays.
And interesting that BaiZe chose to go with the heal on the Galaka Crawler here rather than delay for the Northshire Cleric draw. I'm very curious about that.
It's tough because she sort of expects cocosasa to play something. Wow, okay, well, that makes up for it.
And if you're in cocosasa's position, you would never expect Northshire Cleric to be there given that heal. That's a big payoff.
And unless this Swashbuckler picks up something playable, cocosasa effectively passes on a turn 4, and Greater Healing Potion is not really that.
Yeah, the Potion of Madness is very strong here as well, though. This is what he was trying to set up as something similar to this. Ends up finding it anyway.
And I do like the dagger up over the 2-drop from Forbidden Shaping because you want to have that dagger since your next few turns are pretty much mapped out. You may not have time to re-dagger up in some of these next few turns.
BaiZe's turn here does look strong, though. She has options for the Doomsayer and how you want to follow up. This will buy her back initiative. I'd venture to say cocosasa is not going to use Leroy Jenkins in this spot.
Well,
and with BaiZe having initiative here, there is a lot that she can develop in terms of building her hand at this point. So with the Blood Mage and the Acolyte coming down afterwards, she can have death for any of the big minions that cocosasa will play and then threaten anything small with that Acolyte.
There is some merit to Leroy. Yes, it's a finisher. Yes, you're putting a 6-2 on it's a 6-2 on the board.
Wow.
And you still have a 1-1 on the other side, but
giving up initiative is a very difficult thing to do. I cannot fault him for this.
It's called Tempo Rogue for a reason. If you lose tempo, oftentimes you lose. You live and die by your board. This deck does not have many spells. cocosasa has more damage from hand than some of these other lists because of the Blaze Callers and the Elemental package.
BaiZe wise to hold on to the Shadow Word.
Very wise.
Cobalt Scalebane is the prime minion that she needs to kill. Dragon Fire Potion does not affect it because it's a dragon. I have seen a lot of professional players make that mistake before when practicing that matchup, and that's why you practice it first. Oh, the other thing I forgot to note about this. No Prince Keliseth in Cocosasa's build. He opted for the Galaka Crawlers and the Eviscerates.
And I feel like that choice has been working out for a lot of players. Empanizado, even though he's currently sitting at 1-1, he's another player in the tournament that 4-1 Prince. He's actually been doing really well with this rogue. It's cocosasa that's been the one struggling with it, but I think that's because of the other choices in his deck. His choices go with Elementals, which is a little bit, against the grain as far as rogue decks go, rather than the no Prince list.
His hand for BaiZe is getting awfully heavy, though, and there is a second Cobalt Scalebane lined up. This could spell trouble.
It's all about, for the rogue, sticking that one threat that's going to get in that continuous damage. And the one thing that the no Prince list allows you to do is have more damage from hand. Cocosasa has Eviscerates and Blaze Callers.
And Vile Spines. And Vile Spining that Acolyte right now, I think is a big deal. And BaiZe debated not playing the Acolyte here. Says open up Dragonfire Potion. I'm curious if the Scalebane there is actually better. I mean, he saw Shadow or Death at this point. He would have a 7-1 Murloc and a 5-5 Dragon on board. He denied a draw, but he loses all that damage he just invested into. That is also a very big draw, but now he's got to worry about Shadow Reaper Anduin.
Yeah, it's going into turn 8. It's a tough call to make because Cobalt Scalebane Edwin, even though Edwin comes out as a 4-4, gets buffed up with the Cobalt Scalebane. So, but he's going to go for it and say, hey, if you have Shadow Reaper Anduin, you got me. You got me almost regardless. The only minions I have left in my hand are pretty much 5 attack minions given the Cobalt Scalebane buff.
And that's a risk that he's free to take, being down, or sorry, being up 2 games to 0 in this set. That's something that I think that I would make the call on as well here. Yeah, I'm very much a force him to have it kind of player.
Yeah, cocosasa, I can imagine he's saying to himself in Korean, you don't have it.
I wonder.
Talked about how he said that.
Yeah, he said
at the playoffs.
He said when we were in the interview, we were asking him, you know, what are you saying when you're talking to yourself? He was like, pretty much like, yeah, you don't have it. That is a must-kill threat.
Yeah, it's a pretty easy one for cocosasa to handle right now. It is very much a sacrificial Lyra, hunting for something to answer this board state.
Massive Spell could be quite useful.
And I think it will be.
Yeah, it'll take a ton of damage off the board, as well as get rid of that static buff from the Cobalt Scalebane.
Damage, though.
It is. It still is a lot of damage. But it draws a card. It buys her some time. Gets her closer to Shadow Reaper Anduin. And also at this stage, we'll get her closer to...
Ooh, this is
Shadow
interesting. The Pint-Sized Potion will actually allow her to take the Cobalt Scalebane and trade it off as well if she wants to. And that was her instinct, was to make that play first. And that's a critical minion to kill.
That does take the most power off the board.
She can follow up with the Masked Spell afterwards. And the Curious Glimmer Root. Spirit Lash drawn with the Prophet Velen too. Also gives her some strong time, and she finds Eviscerate with the Velen as well.
So many wonderful poisons.
Keep in mind, cocosasa had to use the Leroy Jenkins earlier on in the game to trade in, so while he does have Blaze Caller plus Eviscerate for some extra burn damage, the Leroy Shadow Step is no longer available. So that's something that BaiZe can be keeping in the back of her mind, saying, well, I can play around this much reach as the game progresses.
Oh my. Yeah, that Power Word Shield is also a very good draw.
Yeah, and keep in mind, Spirit Lash kind of double dips because it gets you that double damage as well as the double healing. So
merit to using the Circle of Healing here. The 3-1 body on the SI7 agent doesn't really matter what size that is, but right now with Velen being at 7 health, it's vulnerable to Eviscerate.
She does have Auchenai Soul Priest in her deck, which is probably why she decided not to go for it.
What? cocosasa does not kill the Velen and instead pushes for face damage.
That Eviscerate is 8 damage?
He's about to get a very rude awakening here. You cannot leave Velen on the board for very long.
Blessed be this.
So he intends to Blaze Caller Eviscerate next turn, I believe. But that trade did not work out as he imagined.
No.
Flames consume you.
I'm also actually quite surprised that BaiZe didn't just set cocosasa to 1.
Same.
That means at any point for the rest of the game, Shadow Reaper Anduin is an automatic win. Now he's at 16 instead. Didn't really accomplish much going at turn 13 with the attack. Apologies, but I would have liked just hitting him.
She was at such a high life total that I totally agree. It makes any damage that she draws lethal. It makes any minion connection lethal.
Hawkeye Soul Priest would have been lethal. It's just the extra 2 damage. He would have been at 1. I mean, it's likely that she wins from this spot anyway, but she's giving cocosasa more outs. Sometimes you just gotta stop thinking and just hit him in the face.
Yeah. Just stop thinking. Who needs to think?
This guy's tough.
At this point, Hawkeye plus Circle will be a board clear. And Cocosasa's out of stuff, out of gas.
Yeah, this is certainly the time, I think, for BaiZe to clear the board. Bone Mare has still not been drawn for Cocosasa, and well, I don't know actually. Yeah, I'm clearing this.
I'm clearing this.
Yeah.
She knows that Flame Elemental is the last card in Cocosasa's hand.
9 cards left. We're looking at Shadow Reaper Anduin. Raz is still here. Gnomish Inventor for draw. A lot of utility left after that, but the bulk of the work has been done at this point.
Yeah. Cocosasa now going to stop using his health as a resource and forego the extra point of damage in order to save himself 3 health. I think that's wise at this point, considering how low he's gotten over the course of the game.
Oh
There's
my.
Shadowy Branduin.
Yeah, and that's just about going to wrap things up. I don't think Cocosasa has any more draws that affect the game at this point. BaiZe going to put a point on the board here, and it's now a 1-2 score, still in favor of Cocosasa.
And that one looked, quite bad for BaiZe for a while, as she was struggling to find ways to deal with big boards. But the fancy play with the pint-sized potion and Potion of Madness plus Master Spell allowed her to really get going on the board and try and find a way back. A couple of things that we didn't agree with, but overall the deck is doing what's designed to do and be a utility kit against a lot of these decks. And now that brings Cocosasa's overall rogue record in the Summer Championship to 0-3. He has yet to win a game with it, and it continues to be a weak point in his lineup.
I'm worried.
Yeah, it's going to be tough. It is really going to be tough. BaiZe still has some game left, and we've been seeing a lot of 5-game series go on today, so it would only be fitting for this one to go as well. And BaiZe trying to fight a way back in the series. And before we get into game number 4, let's go and get to know BaiZe just a little bit better.
Well met.
I'm BaiZe. I am from China, and I am 20 years old. My favorite thing about Hearthstone is it's fun to play. When I am not playing Hearthstone, I eat good food, go out and have fun, and hang out with my friends. My favorite player is Colento. He's very skillful and a good-looking guy. If there is a movie about my life, Scarlett Johansson should play me.
I feel like we learned a lot there.
Yep.
You can see BaiZe some interesting facts. She was actually top 8 at the Wild Open, which happened earlier on this year, actually just down the road in Burbank here. So she's been here before. She's played on U.S. soil before, and she had to play through a pretty tough Wild Open qualifier to get to that tournament. So lots of skills that even cross over to other formats as well.
Yeah, she mentioned also that she didn't really play Wild before that. She saw that there was an event for it and took that opportunity to play, and she qualified for it. And that was really where I took notice, is I thought her play there was very solid. And coming into this event so far, it's looked pretty solid as well. The deck choice, I'm still not sold on it just yet.
Yeah, but I do have a pretty profound respect for people that come into a big championship event like this and go against the grain. And both of these players did just that. Cocosasa with Aggro Paladin and a pretty unique take on the Tempo Rogue, and BaiZe now bringing Druid and bringing a Zoo Warlock in a very interesting take on the Evolved Shaman. So I will have to see. But this is the matchup that I was looking for cocosasa to try and have some game in. I think the mirror matchup might be tough. But if BaiZe can win this, we'll come down to a rogue showdown. Two decks that both these players have struggled with. So we'll see. A very important game.
And two very different versions of that rogue deck as well. A couple Fireflies to start for BaiZe here. But cocosasa's hand is very strong versus this style of opening right now. With Tar Creeper, with SI7 Agent, he needs to try to keep BaiZe's board clear. The last thing he can afford is for her to build a giant board and then have the ability to take advantage of it. So everything he does that kills the minion when it comes into play or has very high health and contests the board very well, those are all big benefits for him right now.
Yeah, Prince Tal'Daram drawn for BaiZe, and that could be quite a funny card in this matchup. Say cocosasa points out Tar Creeper in this instance. Prince Tal'Daram will copy it, become a 3/3, but then on BaiZe's turn, it's a 5/3 because it gains the extra attack. Just copies itself to a minion, but makes it a 3/3, so it still keeps the effects. And as I didn't know until we interviewed BaiZe and asked her that Tal'Daram could copy opponent's minions. I'd never played the card before that. I think you just keep tempoing out, to be honest.
I think so as well. Her hand being as strained as it is right now, there's total justification for the totems here as well. If Cocosasa is not going to pressure that, this board builds into big Bloodlust board states. It builds into Flame Tongue becoming that much more of a threat. And with two Doppelgangsters in hand, it's looking like a game where she's likely to tempo one of these out and just look to follow up with big buff effects. It's cold in here.
It is. It's quite cold. That is a hand warmer. Those things are quite evil magic. I don't know how they work. Like magnets.
And I believe this Crazed Alchemist is going to bite the dust here.
What do you think about Cocosasa's decision to not play one of those 3 drops on turn 2 at the
Well, it's interesting to me. I'm curious if he's just aimed at getting a big Edwin online, and now that he's seen the Devolve, that's a much bigger opportunity, and he finds White Eyes
Ooh, man.
off the Swashbuckler, and that's big. 5/5 taunts are good.
And he can start clearing off this board. Still has a ton of big threats.
And this is definitely a Doppelgangster turn. And the speed at which this was played, I think, is going to send a very different message to Cocosasa about what this actually is. And I expect those to draw a lot of attention this turn.
Yeah, there's a ton of threats that could blow him out of the game here with Thrall, with Evolve, with Bloodlust. All of those lend Cocosasa to think that pretty much as many of these Doppelgangsters have to die as possible. And thus decides to go for a 4/4, very reasonable Edwin.
How valuable is the damage versus getting the Eye of Blackpaw online? I think I'm taking Aya.
Yeah, this
Prince
Bloodlust
Tal'Daram can copy the Aya too. I mean, that's a big deal.
Yeah, if you Bloodlust in trade, all of a sudden you have no board and you have no Bloodlust as a resource. If you go all face, you need basically 2 Jade Lightnings that both hit face before you're able to take the win. Wow, second Doppelgangster.
Well, I mean, the Bloodlust was drawn, and Cocosasa's used a lot of removal. So without more removal this turn, he's under a big threat.
But he can remove 2 of these. And we can count the damage. It's 4, 5, 6 plus 12, 18, if I counted correctly. 6 plus 12, that is 18. Do you go for it and hope that you draw the extra damage?
Well, that Cult Master, I think, is also likely to change things. This is Cult Master plus the Tal'Daram plus trade into the board, and that's 2 extra cards per minion at that point, if that's the direction let's take. Putting Cocosasa down to 1 looks very appealing to me, though.
Yeah, that means outside of a taunt, second copy of Jade Claws and both copies of Jade Lightning win you the game on the spot with Rogue lacking meaningful ways to heal.
It's really hard to lose if you draw 8 cards and clear your opponent's board, though.
Or both.
I don't know about that. Maybe if it was 9 cards. Oh no!
Well, I don't think that matters that much right now. I mean, there's still a ton of cards left to be drawn.
Yeah, I'm gonna pull a Raven here and say that drawing patches might be good. Can hold on to Bloodlust.
I'm very surprised by the Zero copy here. Brawl gets drawn. I don't know about that one, TJ. I would have drawn 8 cards.
I would have set him to 1. There's a reason why we're here.
That's very true.
Not over on that side of the stage. Now, granted, if she did set him to 1, she would have been, you know, 3 cards shallower.
Yeah, so you'd been looking at 4 turns to find that Jade Lightning at that
And that
point.
could have been enough turns for cocosasa to end the game.
Easily.
So you can't look at that and say that the Bloodlust to the face would have been the right play because she may not have been able to get to that stage.
That's a nice drop
of the game.
Totem. Elemental has not been activated for cocosasa on this turn, so Blaze Caller's still stuck in hand, but Galaka Crawler gets drawn.
He can completely pick apart this board. He can remove every single threat. I was thinking a Fire Bloom into the taunt, trade over into the Zero, and then a dagger down on the 1/1.
And that's exactly what he's going to do.
Yeah, this saves you 3 points of damage to your face because your SI7 agent, if he'd done the line that he was thinking about first, would have left the 1/1 up and it would have traded over anyway.
Briarthorn is the +3 attack, I believe. Potion that BaiZe just got from Zero.
And keep in mind, she is out of Doppelgangster, so Thrall is sort of stranded unless she's able to piece together quite a large board.
Ton of pressure coming through, though. A lot of stuff still represents a major amount of Bloodlust damage here. And Aya sticks to the board quite well. Storm Guardian gets drawn.
That was a 1 in 18.
Holy mackerel.
I think she's going to have to use the Bloodlust here to clear.
Look how stressed cocosasa looks.
Well,
Thrall is looking pretty darn appealing here.
Yeah, that's true.
Behold the might of Stormwind.
Be a 9-drop. But can it stand up to a 5-minute 10-10? That's the big question. Giant Mastodon.
And in this spot, I think cocosasa is about to take a big lead. He's got a big hit there with Storm Guardian. It's to return it to his hand to heal it back to full. He's got the Cold Blood to run over the 6-cost minion here. He's got Scalebane to back it up. And he's left with Leroy and Blaze Caller in his hand.
I don't even know what gets BaiZe out of this situation. That Bloodlust is completely stranded.
Well, not that one. That's the worst draw left in the deck.
Just about. I would say second Bloodlust.
Devolve.
Even
that?
big one. I mean, it drops the 10-10 or the 13-10 at this point down to a 4-drop, which at this stage is probably the best you're going to hope for. But cocosasa wisely going to clear off much of the board except for the Skelemancer because that's going to give an 8-8.
13 damage.
Yeah, and that's a lethal setup for next turn. BaiZe has no way out, and I think cocosasa has done it.
You need tickets?
Not enough.
cocosasa 3-1, and that will eliminate BaiZe from the tournament. And cocosasa moves on for one more round to play for top 8.
Both these players, massive respect for bringing lineups that aren't standard by any stretch of the imagination.
No siree, Bob.
But cocosasa is the one that stands atop that matchup. But he's got a tough road ahead. He's going to go up in a rematch against Empanizado, a match that he lost 3-1 earlier on in the day yesterday. And then even if he manages to do that, he's got to win a quarterfinal matchup in order to qualify for the World Championship. So still a long ways to go, that young player. But let's go ahead and send it over to the stage with Frodan, who's got some words with our winner.
Cocosasa, yesterday we didn't even get to see you on stream. You lost to Empanizado, but we did see you today back and you're able to beat BaiZe. So the first question is, did you do anything yesterday to prepare for your opponent today?
어제는 그 오프라인의 대회를 가지고 못 봤는데 오늘은 이렇게 와서 봤는데 이제 어제랑 오늘을 한 개 틀린 거가 있으면 뭔가요?
일단은 상대방의 얼굴을 보면서 게임을 한다는 게 제게 있어서는 조금 더 이득이었던 것 같고요. 그다음에 오프라인 경기보다는 이렇게 좀 공개된 부분에서 하는 경기가 더 긴장감이 높다고 생각을 하는데 저는 그런 부분에서는 좀 긴장감을 대처하는 것이 능숙하다고 생각을 해서 그런 부분 때문에 오늘의 결과가 좀 더 좋았던 것 같습니다.
Yeah, so I think I played better when I see my opponent in front, and I think even playing in a big crowd, it does make me nervous, but I think I do get better energy.
Did you do anything special to prepare for BaiZe as an opponent as well? She has a very unusual lineup.
그 상대는 그 덱이 많이 틀렸는데 어떤 준비를 했나요?
원래는 이제 비치 드루이드를 밴을 하는 전략을 짰었는데 상대방이 비치 드루이드를 들고 하지 않았더라고요. 그래서 이제 상대방의 원래는 주술사를 밴을 하려고 했지만은 주술사 덱에 도발이 들어가 있지 않다 보니까 제 덱들로 충분히 이길 수 있을 거라고 생각을 했고 그렇기 때문에 상대적으로 좀 더 까다로웠던 흑마법사를 밴을 해서 주술사를 좀 더 노렸습니다.
My decks were actually made so that I could ban Jade Druid. But my opponent did not have it, so I first thought about banning Shaman. But when I looked closer, I realized that the Shaman deck did not have taunts, so I found that actually favorable to me. That's why I banned Warlock.
Yeah, very interesting lineup indeed, no Druid. My last question is about your opponent, Empanizado. Yesterday, you lost to him on the off-stream matches. Do you feel more confident going into it now that you have a general feel for how the matches go?
그 어제 한번 패배했는데 그 다시 이제 느낌이 어떤가요, 이제?
패배했던 상대를 다시 만난다는 게 당연히 좋은 일은 아니지만은 그래도 어제 패배했던 것에는 제가 조금 실수가 있었던 부분도 있었다고 생각을 하고 그다음에 덱 상성 자체는 그렇게 나쁘지 않다고 생각을 하기 때문에 충분히 이길 수 있을 거라고 생각을 하고 있습니다.
I definitely learned from my failures, and I definitely did make some mistakes that I've learned. And I think my deck is quite favorable as well, so it should be a good match.
All right, well, thank you very much, Cocosasa, for stopping by, and good luck in your upcoming match. We'll send it over back to TJ and Annabelle at the desk.